Today, the English teacher was talking to one of the current seniors, Derek, who's like my favorite ever, or he was talking about Derek to the person sitting next to him, and he was like, I've decided on a new career path for Derek. You want to hear it? And the kid was like, yeah. He's like, I've decided Derek life coach. And then Derek goes, Derek anime character.
Oh boy. Respect to the man.
That's great. Did I tell you about Derek's favorite song?
No, what's Derek's favorite song?
So this was during Prep Academy, which they have to go to before classes start, and it's just like some orientation sessions at the beginning of the year. And Derek was in a senior classroom where they were working on like their college essays or something, or they're doing a practice SAT. I don't remember what it was. And he calls me over and he's like, Flute, come over here. I'm like, what's up, Derek? And he looks at me and he's like, what kind of music you listen to? And I was like, I don't know. I listen to all sorts of things. And he was like, you ever heard of Weedus? And
Whoa.
I was like, what? Maybe. Is that like a band? And he's like, yeah, I'm going to write a song down for you. The song represents my life. And
I'm just a teenage
on a post-it note. Just writes teenage dirtbag dash Weedus.
It was the dawn of the third age of mankind, 10 years after the Earth-Minbari War. The Babylon Project was a dream given form. Its goal, to prevent another war by creating a place where humans and aliens could work out their differences peacefully. It's a port of call, home away from home for diplomats, hustlers, entrepreneurs, and wanderers. Humans and aliens wrapped in 2,500,000 tons of spinning metal, all alone in the night. It can be a dangerous place, but it's our last best hope for peace. This is the story of the last of the Babylon stations. The year is 2258. The name of the place is Babylon 5.
Hello, and welcome to Chats, a television podcast, Season 6, Chatzylon 5. My name's Allen, and I'm joined by a man who both terrifies and reassures me. It's Magellan.
Hey, listen. You're gonna be just fine in life. Everything's gonna be great for you.
Fuck. Wow, you did it. You did the damn thing there.
Yeah.
All in one. He contains multitudes, America. It's my co-host. It's my friend. It's my partner in this podcasting adventure.
Walt Whitman.
Walt Whitman, back from the dead.
Well, hey, everybody.
That's what, Yeah, hey, Walt Whitman, how's it going?
Well, I've been looking at the current state of the United States of America, and, I just gotta say the only redeeming qualities that I've found are monster trucks.
Oh, boy.
I think that they make my penis excited. Me, Walt Whitman, always talking about that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Walt, what are you interested in watching Babylon 5? There are monster trucks in Babylon 5.
I figure I better just leave before I talk about my penis anymore.
He just walks back into the grave like, bye, Walt.
Dissipates into smoke. Hey, Alan. Wow, it's the beginning of the episode.
Wow, there's nothing before this at all, and I cut all of that out. That's awesome.
Cutting room floor. What?
Welcome. There's no 13th floor on this podcast. It's Chatzylon 5, where we watch Babylon 5, 2 episodes a week. This week, we watched Season 1, Episode 5, The Parliament of Dreams, and Season 1, Episode 6, Mind War.
Wow.
First, we're going to discuss The Parliament of Dreams, which was written by Joseph Michael Straczynski, directed by Jim Johnston, It aired February 23rd, 1994, and it took place between Wednesday, the 30th of March, and Sunday, the 3rd of April of 2258. Magellan, what happened in this episode?
In this episode, Sinclair's old flame, Catherine Sakai, arrives during a week-long festival when humans and aliens demonstrate their religious beliefs. An old enemy sends an assassin to kill Jakar. Alan, what did you think of the Parliament of Dreams?
The only thing that sucks about the episode titles being good is it's extremely difficult for the episode to ever live up to that title.
Yeah. Was there a Parliament of Dreams?
I mean, maybe the Catherine stuff is like related to a Parliament of Dreams. I mean, what we need to remember also is that this season is called Signs and Portents. That's like the overarching title of the season. So anything, I like to think anything that we don't get or isn't obvious immediately is a sign and or portent of things to come. I did a teensy bit of reading. I didn't actually spoil anything for myself, but the whole Catherine plot, which I'd like to discuss first, is kind of setting up some like really far down the line stuff. Because, well, I guess the things that I'm thinking of are more, I believe they're actually in the second episode more, the Sigma 957 stuff. But she's introduced in this episode, and I don't like her very much. I want to. I think she's kind of cool. She's a competent woman. So far, if we're going to keep using this kind of the Bechdel test, she doesn't really pass it yet. I don't think so, because she doesn't really talk to other women. Although she does briefly have like a dialogue with Ivanova, where they're like talking about something that I don't remember. But right now she's kind of just Sinclair's old flame for him to have this like weird 1990s, like it kind of reminded me of like a Before Sunrise but bad sort of thing, where they're just like, we keep doing the same thing. When are we going to get over how much we want to fuck? And I just, they're very straight. It's very like exactly what you expect. Like I said, that performance is pretty good. But like, I don't know. I don't want to like affect your opinion of it, but I know you said you didn't love this plot either.
I just didn't think that she really sold it as a performer. Because the dialogue in this plot is very overwrought and sort of like romance novel-y. And so it really falls on the actors to make that work or not work. And Sinclair's not really selling it either, because he's reading all of his lines with the same delivery as always. He's in the bedroom and he's like, it's crazy that we're having sex again. This is wild. How did we end up here? And it's the same as when he says, Jakar, you've got to make this deal with everybody else. So he's not really making it work. And then she feels kind of wooden to me. So I don't know. I like the plot in theory. I'm appreciative of how horny this show is. I think that's really, I really like it.
Yeah, these are people who are like adults. They're sexually active adults.
Yeah, sexually active adults. But also like half of the episode plots so far have been about like a new forbidden love or like an old flame who has resurfaced. So I wonder how frequent that theme is going to be involved in this show. So I kind of just didn't care, partially because I didn't think she was that great as a performer, and partially because it's hard for me to feel what's the word? The opposite of ironic. Sincerely invested in Sinclair, because his performance feels a little detached. But like different performers, I think, could have made this plot work, because it's pretty sexy. You know, it can be pretty sexy.
It can be. I mean, like the actress Julia Nixon Soul, who plays Catherine Sakai, is like a pretty lady, and she wears these cool outfits. She looks like a weird followed NPC who you like talk to, but they don't actually matter to the story that much. And you're like, oh, you're interesting. And her whole deal is that she works. Like, I like that she has her own job and she does stuff, and like he knows her because she just happens to like she. I think they met. Yeah, they met at Earth Force Academy. Because he was her like flight instructor, so they had like a student relationship, which they will also talk about relationships between people from school in Mind War. But she's here to investigate something about a planet that has a large quantity of quantum 40 on it, which is like a nonsense element that basically they say is like good for making jump gates, like teleportation technology. So she's doing important stuff, and like I said, what she ends up doing with it in the second episode and like where she goes in that whole planet is like a cool idea. But again, all we get out of Catherine in this episode is like these quiet kind of like half committed lines to Sinclair over dinner about like every time we get together, you talk about your family, I talk about mine. Then we say, wow, why do we keep doing this? And then we have sex, and then I feel bad about it, and then I leave, and then we do it again. Yeah. Like, how do we get out of this cycle? And then they're like, acceptance of like, maybe we don't want to get out of this cycle is something that's definitely cute on paper. But again, it makes it feel like, is this show just like, how often are we just going to have like old crushes or whatever and like romantic interests on this ship?
Yeah. It's an interesting choice to present this that way, as not the first time that they're reconnecting, but one of many times that it has happened in a similar way. Because I really like that moment where, and I think, I would imagine this is one of those things where it started with a scene that some writer had in mind if this would be a great scene, and then a story needed to be built around it. And to me, my intuition is that scene was when they were at dinner, and she's talking about how we always do this. Let's not go through the whole thing that we go through all the time, because that felt really fresh to me. It's not something I'd seen before, but then to have a character say, hey, this plot that you're about to see is going to go like this, and then to see it go like that,
go exactly like that. Yeah.
And the same thing with the assassination plot in the other part of the episode, where a character at the beginning is like, hey, Jakar, I sent someone to kill you. They're going to try to kill you. And he's like, what? And then the lady's like, hey, Jakar, they're going to try to kill you, and they're going to put a rose to show that. And then there's a rose, and he's like, what? This whole episode just felt like it was kind of setting you up to know what was going to happen next, and then not really subverting your expectations. Not that it needed to, but it made for a viewing experience that was kind of like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, that totally happened. I actually have a note about the Black Rose scene where I really thought that was a dream, and I would have almost liked it more if this episode was about how Jakar, despite like being a competent ambassador and having good allies, is still paranoid. Because again, it contrasts how he is in the second episode, where he's like talking to Homeworld, and he's like, hey, send these ships, this girl is gonna die if she goes out to this planet, and then they like send them, and it goes well for him, and it's like, yeah, I knew you were gonna get in trouble. And it's like that episode paints Jakar as this like really competent person, and this one makes him like this bumbling, paranoid, really anxious, like young, almost like very immature person. He's just immediately like, anybody around me could kill me, this is terrifying, we're playing a murder game. It feels a little bit too fanciful for an assassin, like an ambassador assassination plot. A bit too silly. And again, it plays really weirdly in the same episode as this Catherine stuff. Which, I mean, one line from that I really like before we head into the other thing is they have the back and forth, and this is like perfect example of a line that looks good on paper but doesn't read very well. I believe she says, I usually think about you in the summer. And then Sinclair says, I think about you in the fall. And then she kind of sighs and she goes, we never could agree on anything.
Yeah, it's like, that's a great line on paper, and it just doesn't work.
It's not like, it doesn't feel poetic the way it does when you read it. Like, it doesn't feel delivered like there's a heartache behind it. It's just like Two
Yeah.
people reading lines.
Yeah.
And they feel like business associates or something, having this like,
Mhm.
yep, and then we're gonna do sex. And
It
like,
feels like they're actors in a scene study class, and this was like the scene that they memorized to perform for the rest of the class.
right, like it's a good scene, but they're just like new. Yeah, they're trying it out for the
Yeah.
first time. Yeah, though I do want to talk about the Jakar assassination stuff. So he gets this video call from this guy who I wrote he looks like another Narn, but he sounds like a weird David Cross character, which is like every David Cross character.
Yeah.
And with that whole scene before like he gets the message is so funny because Jakar is just like singing in his room and he's gonna like eat a whole, I guess, chicken. It's like a just green
Oh my
like
God.
turkey.
I loved that. And he's singing his little song to himself.
Yeah, and they're like, "Hey, can I come in?" He's like, "I was gonna eat." They're like, "No." The guy's like, "Are you Jakar?" And he's like, "This is Jakar's quarters. This is Jakar's self. This is Jakar's dinner that you're interrupting.
Yeah.
What did you think? Who did you think you were talking to?" And this guy comes in, diplomatic courier Tupari, and he brings a video message from an associate named Durak, who's like, "Hey man, how's it going? I'm dying." Jakar's like, "Wow, cool, it's a Tuesday." And then the guy's like, "But you're also dying." And that's like the cold open. And then he talks about like, "You're going to be killed by somebody on the ship. You don't know who it is. They're going to sneak up behind you. This is what you get for ruining my family. Here you go. Here's a murder plot. Bye, have fun." It like skips everything you want out of a murder mystery. They're like, "Hey, here's the motive and here's the murderer." Now it's a question of like who physically does the act.
Right, because then there's nothing exciting about, oh, he hired this person. Because there's nothing fundamentally different about whether he hired the courier or the attaché. No matter
Yes.
what. It's just like a random person who I don't think we had met before.
Nope.
Who he hired to kill Jakar. So the whole time I'm like, okay. And I didn't guess that it was the courier, but it's because I didn't bother to try to guess.
It's
You
way
know?
too obvious. Like, they have the scene where the attaché like knocks Jakar out, and you're like, "Wait, is this a double cross?" And she's like, No, it's a triple cross. Like, I'm totally working for you, and we're gonna knock out this courier." And really, the only person who gets character development out of this plot is her.
Yeah.
Natoth, I believe is her name, and it's just like, wow, that's great. I'm glad to know that Jakar has people he can trust.
Yeah, I guess.
That's good. And I said last week when we were previewing this that like I really want to come to love Jakar, but like he doesn't. I didn't fall in love with him this episode. I think him being like silly and incompetent is like not the him that I want. I almost still I think his movie character is the best.
I agree.
Where he's like very cool and like interesting and funny, and has a lot.
But then he gets thwarted in a way that makes him look stupid.
Right. And it's like, oh, Dum Dum Shakar. But Dum Dum Shakar is my favorite Star Wars character.
Mm-hmm.
But like his attaché is the one who gets to be like, you have people on your side, man. I'm good. You're good. We're gonna be awesome together. And it's like, great. That's so good. I'm so happy for you. What does this do for anybody? Like I don't know why we're getting this like slow drip feed of different aides and attachés on the ship, because it's like, all right, yeah, I would hope they all had aides. I'm surprised they didn't have them earlier, because this episode also introduces us to Lanier, who is Delen's new aide, and they just kind of have a nice religious relationship where he's like, "Oh, you're the lady from the Grey Council," and she's like, "Don't fucking say that. Don't tell anybody that I'm in the Grey Council." And he's like, "No, but it's super cool that you're in the Grey Council." And she's like, "Zit!" Because she doesn't want nobody on Babylon 5 knows what that is, and she wants to keep it that way. So it's like kind of cool that she has somebody. Having more than one Minbari kind of like immediately gives us more to work with than having just the one where it's like, all right, I don't know anything about your culture because you're the one, and
you're deliberately hiding certain things.
Right. Yeah, and a big part of your character is secret. So
I was just happy to see Delen again.
Yeah.
She's cool.
Another thing, a sort of like side thing in this episode is this whole religion festival, which we'll get to the sort of conclusion of it. But what it means is every couple of scenes we get these like different displays of different religions on Babylon 5. Like the idea is to celebrate everyone's freedom of spirituality and faith, we're gonna like get together and watch people perform their faith in front of us. And when they do the Minbari one, and she does all this stuff with like this dancing and the chanting, it's like really cool. And you're like, hell yeah, Delenn, like this is very awesome. And I like how everybody is like being respectful of your culture and like watching it and trying to participate. And then they just kind of fart on that a couple minutes later, and someone's
Not
like,
even
hey,
a couple, like 20 minutes later.
like at the end of the episode. They're like, hey, yeah, remember that thing from like a while ago? And you're like, yeah. And they're like, yeah, someone got married. One of you dum-dums didn't realize it, but like that weird dance was like a marriage ceremony. And you're like, who the fuck cares? Get out of here. Like, if you're going to make it about how like everybody is allowed to practice whatever they want, making a joke about one of the religions is like super not that. It's super like making light of it or something. It's just like, that's all right. So yeah, they're weird. I know all religion is weird in a way. It just feels like nothing. That joke doesn't add anything to what we know about the Minbari or their religion. It's just like, yeah, and then you guys got married by accident. It's like a cartoon joke or something. Another fun religion sequence though involves our boy Londo and the Centauri one. This one actually is like at the beginning of the episode. You get Londo and Veer at like their celebration is just a big dinner, so everyone is just like
get hammered,
destroyed, and Londo just gets to extremely cheese it the hell up, and it's very good. Veer is happy. I love seeing Veer, like super excited to be there. It's like a sci-fi Ren fair. That was what I wrote, and I think that's a very good combination. They do a big cheers where they all go like Vantu. And they're clearly polytheistic because you get that amazing Londo line where he says, in a world where every day is a struggle for survival, you need all the gods you can get. You're like, yeah, okay. Like we got polytheism, we have like a war culture, we have like we know more about Centauri than we know about like literally anyone else on this on the ship.
Right. Then we know about Delenn as a person.
Exactly. As like, even in like adjective ways. I don't know how to describe Delenn, but I can tell you about the religion of the Centauri.
Right. I love that scene ended with Londo saying, everybody's cute, even me, but in purple, I am stunning. And he like passes out.
It's just a bit. And you're like, wow, I'm Londo. Yeah. Thanks.
And Veer goes, he's become one with his inner self. Garibaldi goes, he's passed out. And Veer goes, that too.
That too.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, Garibaldi's reactions to all of this stuff is very funny. And everyone's just like having a good time. Like that's their religion is, or like their stuff is supposed to be like flamboyant and celebratory. You know, I think that's where all of like the humor can come from. But then like the Minbari stuff is just like this is ceremonial. You know, this is like buttoned up a little bit, and that was, I thought, a cool contrast.
Yeah,
that was like 75% of the episode. We do, like we said, we find like there's this back and forth of like, who's the assassin? Is it my attaché? Like, I'm gonna get her kicked the fuck out of here. And the Narn command people are like, all right, I guess we'll kick her out, except we can't. We'll send you a bodyguard though, and it's just like this big beefy boy.
Well, he goes to that freaking like praying mantis thing again that I still don't really know who that is, but people keep going to him.
Yeah, he's my fucking boy. He's Negrath. You love Negrath's our boy.
I
feel like the show. I feel like the show wants Negrath to be our boy, but I'm just like, what? What's this guy? He's in so many episodes.
His only purpose is to exist in like transaction scenes.
Right, whenever somebody's doing a transaction, it's like, Negrath, yep, thanks, all right.
It's to justify, like, hey, I need this thing that is impossible. Yeah, I got you.
Do you want some good news about Negrath?
Yeah, he's dead.
No. He's in one more episode from season 1. He has an appearance in a season 5 episode, which tragic, and then he's in one of the movies. I think that's one of the things I like about the Babylon 5 wiki is it does exactly the thing I want, which is it tells you every episode that the character is in without like spoiling anything. It's just like says they are in this episode, which is perfect. But yeah, Negrath is just there for someone to be like, hey, can I pay you to do something? And he's like, yes. Yes, you can totally do that. And then they find out that it is in fact the courier because of course it freaking is. They get him kicked
There's
off.
no way that it was going to be the attaché, because it was so clearly that's who we were supposed to suspect.
And it's not going to be anyone else we know on the show, because they are the people we know on the show. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like we've had to talk about this a lot, where like you can't really make me suspect that like a regular cast member on your TV show is evil, or is a murderer, unless you've been setting it up for a really long time and it's like a huge twist. But like, we're on episode 5. There's no one has any motive to be like an assassin right now. You know, it's not going to be like Ivanova is like, oh, secretly I've only been here to kill you. It's like, no.
Yeah,
she clearly has an arc.
Care a lot about. It can be bought and sold, so that's awesome.
Right, that would be super bad writing. But yeah, so they fight the guy. He uses the pain giver, which is really silly. It's just a reverse painkiller. That's the whole joke. Good job, guys. You did do that. Natoth and Jakar fight the courier. They beat him. Great job. And then he's like, hey, the secrets, this is kind of fucked, but I like how fucked it is. When they capture him, they go like, hey, we blackmailed you, and we're going to tell them that you didn't kill Jakar, and then we're going to let you go. Like, you're going to take this bus, and you're going to get off of Babylon 5. And he's like, the secret society who hired me is totally going to kill me. And they're like, yeah, bye. What? Like, excuse me? We're going to let this man die? Okay. He's not our problem anymore. You just kind of push that away. And then that is like a nice moment for her and Jakar to just be like, hell yeah, we did it. Good, we're pretty good, I guess, together. It's really weird. And then speaking of extremely weird, God, the ending of this episode is so much. Yeah. There we go. I don't know Babylon 5.
I don't know about these tacked on endings that Babylon 5 keeps doing.
Yeah, it doesn't. This one does. It super doesn't fit, because the religion festival already was like a Z plot, and then they make it. It's exactly like last week's. It's exactly like, hey, Earth is pretty cool. Like, it's like weird propaganda or something, where they just put things at the end. Like, hey, it's like I'm trying to think of a comparison. It's like PSAs in the end of cartoons. It's like, by the way, don't do drugs. By the way, Earth has a bunch of cool religions. Did you know? They're all different and unique and good. By the way, so everyone is saying, oh, what's Earth going to do for their religion festival? What's Earth going to do? And like, what are Sinclair and Garibaldi planning? And Garibaldi has everybody meet in this like basement, I guess. Mm-hmm. And they're like, all right, here we go. It's time for the Earth religion festival. And he's like, he just goes up to a huge line of people and he goes like, here's Kevin. He's an atheist. Here's Father Muhammad. He's an imam. He's a Muslim imam. Here's Father Jacoby. He's Catholic. Here's blah blah blah. He's this.
What I really wanted that scene to be was they are all there, and he's like, and they're like, oh, the commander just said to wait here, and then they just wait there, and he never shows up.
Yeah.
That's what I really wanted to happen. I knew they weren't going to do that, but that'd be great. And instead we just get this kind of like, it's nice. Like, I don't know what else you could have done, you know?
Yeah, how else do you do? All they're trying to show us is like, wow, look into the breadth and uniqueness of all of Earth's religions and how they're able to coexist. It's the coexist like bumper sticker of endings.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And it also, the annoying thing is like, I don't know what's annoying about it is, well, why does Earth have all these different religions, but these other multi-planetary societies only have like single religions? You know?
Right, like
that
the Centauri
weird.
have a polytheistic religion, but it's one polytheistic religion.
Yeah.
Whereas Earth has like infinity religions, and it's definitely framed as a very good thing. So is the show saying like having all these religions makes us better or good? Because I don't really get that. It's such a like dumb ending meant to make you feel good and feel warm inside about like, hell yeah, Earth is cool. Yeah. Love Earth. Like, I don't know. Do better, Babylon 5.
Yeah,
get it better. Like, edit your episodes down.
I think what's annoying is that it's supposed to make us like pat ourselves on the back
Yeah.
when we know that that's not what religion is like on Earth. Like, religion has been at the core of death and conflict and hatred throughout human history.
Yep.
So we can't just like say, isn't it great that I brought Father Papopoulos, the Greek Orthodox guy?
Yeah.
And also, like, everybody is just, just like a stereotype.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
They're in their outfit. They are exactly the racial makeup that you expect. It's
Also almost entirely men.
Yeah. There was
Yeah.
like one lady in there. Yeah.
I respect the attempt, Babylon
Mhm.
5, but something about it was a little tone deaf.
There are things you can say about Earth that would make me feel inspired. Like, I honestly think this makes him being like, yeah, and Earthlings do want to like go out there and explore. Like, do something like that. Give me more of that. Like we kind of got last episode, where it's like the thing that makes Earth unique isn't that we have a lot of religions. That's not necessarily a good thing, as we said. Most of these people have fought each other at some point. Most of their religions.
I think
have.
having different religions can be a good thing, but the way in which it is manifested in human history, it's debatable.
Right. It's not the best. It's not the best way to handle that. And I don't know.
Also,
like,
there's something really tacky about the fact that none of those people have lines. Like, if you're gonna do that, then why can't Sinclair just like have a big stack of books and he's like, here's the Bible, and like throws it at them, and he's like, here's the whatever, here's
the Torah,
Quran,
here's the Quran. Yeah.
Or like different symbols or something. I don't know. I feel like that would have felt less tokenizing than like, let me show you all the different Google image searches for religions of the Earth.
Oh, damn! It is totally that. It is totally like Googled religion, Earth religions, and you clicked on a bunch of JPEGs, and you're like, wow, these are all unique, and it's like, just to be corny for a second, because that's my brand. The end of Lost has a scene where everybody walks into a church, and it's like an church, like it's in every religion church. And I kind of think that gets this exact idea across, like just having like a space, like many, I can't say most, but many religions on Earth have like places of worship, and having it be a place that they go into and like study the way that they practice, or the way that they like present themselves, or that they preach, or whatever, works a lot better than being like that guy. And like also starting with an atheist is so fucking funny to me. I can't get over it. It's just like, here's fucking Bill from Montana. He doesn't believe in any of these. Anyways,
he's in jorts right now.
Yeah. He's a very popular Reddit account. Here's Christianity. All of it. Like, what are you doing, B5? And sorry, what I was gonna say, just to conclude that, is like, do we need these like end of episode like raw Earth things?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't really get what the point of them is. It feels like they just have more time than they need, which is not a thing that modern shows deal with,
Right.
Either you're on a network and you have not enough time to tell a story, or you're on a streaming service and you have exactly as many minutes as you need, and then you're done.
Mm-hmm.
But Babylon 5, it was like, it just feels like, okay, well, you guys, we've got an extra 3 minutes here. What do we do? Let's teach them a nice moral lesson. I don't know.
And then it's not even a nice moral lesson.
It's fine, but it's not necessary. And then it feels weird and tacked on.
Speaking of tacked on, let's tack on a little segment here where we talk about our stray notes, Magellan. Do you have any?
Let's do it. Speaking of starting with an atheist, this episode started with Garibaldi being so disrespectful of some random alien's religion.
Which thing was it?
Talking about like, I'm gonna throw your whatever thing out the airlock or something. And
God.
Yeah, and this alien was like, you test my faith. And Garibaldi was like, and you're testing my patience, which was a cool line until he said something like, and you better hope I don't flunk, or something like that. And so I wrote, yes, Garibaldi, you atheist fuckboy, you.
You, you godless
fuckboy.
heathen. You fuckboy.
Yeah. Oh, I had another question about the intro. I feel like every week I notice a new phrase in the intro.
Yeah, what you got?
They say it's the dawn of the third age of mankind.
Yeah.
What were the other 2 ages? What'd you do with the other 15 chapels? It's from Animaniacs. I can't take credit.
I was gonna say, there's no way. That's too good. No offense. Third age of mankind. Oh, this totally. People have asked this exact question about Babylon 5. It's a new age, dawn of third. Oh, they answer this in the episode. They answer in an episode.
Oh, okay,
is this a movie or is this an episode? They're going to answer. They literally, somebody in the show asked this. I don't want to read this because this gets answered.
Oh, great.
Which is sweet. So that's good.
Awesome.
Good to catch. Also, you were talking last week about the different, like, this being the quote unquote last of the Babylon stations.
Yeah.
I think this is in an email we got, but the trivia behind that was basically, they tried making this show 4 times, and this was their 5th and last time that they were going to try to make it. So they made it like a cute reference to the meta.
I see.
Production of the show.
I see. I like the guy talking to Jakar when he says, I just like this line, the way it flows. He's like, I have all this money, I liquidated it. The sum will be given to someone eminently qualified to kill you. It's like, ooh, it's kind of scary.
Stink, yeah.
I like, they're just little touches that remind you that it's the future, and slight things will look similar but be a little bit different. So, like, Sinclair's fancy shirt, the shirt pockets are lower on the shirt. They're like on the stomach part.
Oh.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Also, whenever anybody's at the door, the person inside the room says, come. And
Right.
instead of like, come in.
Come.
Or like, come inside. They just say, come.
Yeah, I kind of prefer this show's approach to telling you that it's the future, where it's just like little tiny things that you can pick up on instead of being like, everybody's in spacesuits or something like that. It's like, no, it's the future, but it's like not far enough in the future that it's not recognizable. It's just things are like a little different.
I'm very excited that Delenn is here.
Of course.
Yep. I didn't love Catherine, but some of her lines she did deliver pretty well. Like when she's talking to Sinclair for the first time in the episode, and his communication device is going off. She says, I don't mean to alarm you, but your pants are talking to you.
Yeah, that's a snap. That's like a Sorkin-y line. It's like a goofy. I like it.
And then later she says, I'd give you my birth number, but I'd expect you already know how to find me, Commander. Ooh.
That was going to be, that was one of, meow, if that's right. I wrote that one down, yeah. Like, what is a birth number? Is that like your phone number, but in space?
Mm-hmm. No, it's like your room, I guess.
Oh, I guess. Okay.
Your birth, yeah.
There was something, I can't remember if it was in this or the second episode this week, where I was like, remembering how time is supposed to work. No, it's in the second one. I'll talk about it. I know. I remember exactly what it is. It's in the second episode. The only note then that I have for this one was the scene where Associate Dordrak or whatever is telling Jakar, like, I'm gonna kill you. He kind of like almost breaks the fourth wall and sounds like he's talking to Jakar, who is answering him, because he's like, Jakar, it's nice to see you again. He's like, huh, good riddance or whatever. Like, I'm dying. And he's like, huh, thank God you're dying too. Damn, bummer. Like, they're having like a back and forth, even though it's a recording.
Yeah.
That reminded me of that really silly Vine where it's like the guy watching TV and it's him on the TV and the guy on the TV's like, if you have heart, lung, thing problems, if you said yes or no to this thing, it very much felt like that. Yeah, that's what I got.
Oh, I've got some more.
Oh, bring it.
Let's see. What I really wanted from the beginning of the Jakar plot was for that guy to be messing with him, and for there to be no assassin.
That'd be so good.
But then the attaché said that. She was like, "What if that's what's happening?" And I was like,
Oh,
damn
no.
it. Now that's not the plot.
Now it can't be like that, right?
That would have been so perfect, though. If it's just the side plot about Jakar going through 2 days of his life where he's really worried he's going to get assassinated. And then the time is up. And he's like, I didn't get killed. So I think I'm good. But I don't know.
Because that's the best troll of like you are about to die. You send your worst enemy a message like I'm gonna kill you in 2 days, and then you don't do shit, and they're just paranoid for the rest of their life. Like that's way better.
Yeah. Also, he should have known that it was the courier, because how else could he have timed like when the message would show up with anybody else showing up there? Anyway, stupid.
True. Yeah, he wouldn't have sent them. Yeah, that's a good point.
Jakar asks how the rose got into his bed, and she says, "Ambassador, it is not my place to speculate on how anything gets into your bed." And then we get a weird line about how apparently Jakar likes to have sex with human women.
Yeah.
All right, sure. Delenn, when she's hanging out with her new buddy, is like, "Do you understand?" And he says, "No. But understanding is not required, only obedience." Interesting. So there's some mystery around Delenn. Apparently she's very powerful.
For sure. I mean, we know that she's in the whatever council, the Shadow Council? No, the
Grey Council.
The Grey Council. It's such a cool name. We don't know what that means. We know that she's probably powerful. She still has those rings from the movie. We have determined that the movie is 100% canon. So all that stuff is around somewhere. I just want those fucking rings to come back, man. I really do.
And then a couple other lines. Two more things. The first is a couple other lines from this plot of Catherine and Sinclair that seem good on paper, and then just in the moment they don't land quite right. She says, "Maybe I needed you. Maybe I just needed someone. For this one moment, I don't care." There's a good line, but it just kind of falls flat. And then when she says, "Don't touch me unless you mean it." And that's supposed to be like sexy, you know? And instead it's kind of like, yeah, okay. Then just my last thing, when the courier reveals himself and attacks Jakar, and there's that terrible like swivel over the shoulder look. He has a weird smile, terrible laser gun effect, cut to commercial. It's like, you guys.
Yeah, that's all bad.
This isn't Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, so interesting episode with some problems, but I would like us to get into some of these emails that we got this week, Magellan. Hell yeah. So we actually got one back last week about Firing Line and Soul Hunter that I'm not going to read all of because I forgot to read it last time by accident. Actually, no, we told you. This is the one where I talked about the guns and then like the Men in Black thing and the 22. Maybe you talked about this. Tony Soprano. Basically, Dan has been consistently sending us emails every week, and I appreciate all of them. I'm going to read his latest one, though, because it's tight and delicious, and it's relevant. He says, as an old school fan of Babylon 5, and of Chats for that matter, I like that people can be old school Chats fans. I always worry that I will say things that will taint the purity of your fresh viewing experience. Bearing that in mind, I'll say this. The episode Infection is often regarded as one of the worst episodes of the show. It was the first episode shot, and it shows a lot of those first episode problems.
Okay.
Even the lighting is weird at times. JMS himself has gone on record as saying that this one is not good. Of course, I'm paraphrasing. But I take this as a good sign. You found what was worth watching in Infection, and if you found it there, you'll find it everywhere. Which is yay.
Cool.
Like,
Nice.
That's our thing. We love to find diamonds in the rough. He goes on to say, calling attention to the fact that Dr. Franklin's first name is Stephen has permanently put into my head the idea that Stephen Franklin is the Ricky Bobby of xenobiology. Dan, you're blessed. Infection also brings us the actor Marshall Teague in the character of Nelson. That's the guy who turns into Mega Man. Yep. Teague's his face/body cast goes one to be used for making all the alien makeup for the background aliens. Oh, so it's like his face is the cast for all of the aliens. Or for a lot of them. Huh. He does have a really weird face. He also played, speaking of Marshall Teague, he played the bad guy's lieutenant in the Cinema Gem Roadhouse, a.k.a. 1980s Machismo the movie. It's a real treat. I've always wanted to watch Roadhouse. I get that mixed up with the other Over the Top, the other one that's about like tough guys, but I think Over the Top's about arm wrestling, so those are not comparable movies. Roadhouse is the one they made the bad joke on Family Guy about, and I can't get that. I can't get the old Family Guy references out of my head, no matter how hard I try.
Is that like, are they more cursed, the older ones?
They're just dumb. It's just like, oh, this is like a, you know how like you have, it's different than having like old Simpsons references because some of those are just like still funny.
Yeah.
But like the joke of Family Guy was like that they go like Roadhouse, like the way he says it is the joke, and it's like that's good job, Family Guy, you did it. We also got an email from our boy Dax this week. Dax Static. He says this is sort of his introduction because he's been very busy, so he came into Chatzylon kind of late. He says, "Greetings, Allen and Magellan. Welcome to the world of Babylon 5. I just listened to your commentary for The Gathering, and do I have a bone or two to pick with you? But that'll have to wait for future episodes because I don't want to spoil anything for you, and I'm going to have to work around that a lot for the whole series. With The Gathering, here's what you need to know. It is 100% canon. It's not a lost pilot. It takes place a year before season 1, and while there were a lot of changes due to the fact that actors couldn't or wouldn't return, the other things about how it's different are partially actually spoilers, which is cool. A cool thing he mentions is that J. Michael Straczynski, before the show, was a veteran of television, and it was smart enough to know that, you know, this could be a pilot and that he had so much of the storyline mapped out that anytime, this is really interesting, he said anytime an actor had to leave, he could get another to replace them and keep the story flowing with minimal bumps in the road. In fact, he had several back doors, as they were called, planned ahead so he could do a replacement like that in a single episode if necessary and have it make sense in the series. Because, like, you get rid of an ambassador on the show, it's like, all right, we'll get another one. You know, nobody has to be permanent on the show, but they all can be.
That's a great, yeah. That's
it's
smart.
like perfect for writing a television show. He says what you need to remember is this was made back in the 90s, so like long planned ahead storylines like this one didn't exist. These days it's common for a studio to hire an actor for like 1 or 2 episodes and put them under contract to return when the season gets to the end, or film everything at once and edit them together. But back when they were doing 22 episodes a year and filming an episode a week, unless you were in the title, you were hired for 1 episode at a time. And when the show wanted you back, if you already had another show booked, then you couldn't come back. So that's why there are a lot of characters that you just see and then they don't come back, even though they did a big thing. It's like, oh, well, you're important, but we can't bring the actor back because of contracts. Which I guess that's like how TV works. That doesn't sound too surprising.
Yeah.
But you're not, it's different than now. I guess what he's saying is it's different from now where it's like you have a contract. You are on this show. If we need you, we get you no matter what you're doing.
I see. Is that true of like big characters or just these like one-off side characters?
I think what he's saying is that specific thing is for the one-off character, and that's why they exist as one-off characters. It's like this show could hold 1 million like long-running characters, but some of them just didn't come back because of, you know, other things. He says he actually says there are several characters you'll see in the next few years watching that in my mind I have no doubt would have been played by one person if this was made today. I'll point them out as we go along. So like different characters that could have done the same thing and would have been the same person if the actor was available.
I see. Huh. That's interesting.
Very, yeah. Another thing about TV back then is that a lot of the stations that the show was aired on were owned by pretty conservative groups in many markets. JMS. Yeah, so this explains a lot of our problems with how everybody feels like they don't, like the romance stuff is all like dudes, and why everybody feels pretty straight-laced so far is because they were still appealing to like a conservative television networks. So like JMS originally planned for Delenn to be asexual, which is really fucking cool. Like she was nobody's love interest at any point, and they had to like make her at least like get flirted with. He wanted to be way more open with like LGBTQ characters and stories, but had to push them aside because he didn't want to have the show not air. which super sucks. But I mean, we can headcanon Ivanova and Talia as much as we want. JMS was a TV vet and knew how to play this game. So one way he was able to stick it to them, this is awesome, was to have same-sex couples in the backgrounds if you look for them.
Nice.
2 guys sitting at a table having a drink, totally gay. But if any assholes look at them, there's no kissing or hand-holding, so it's 2 friends having a coffee. Just 2 bros kissing under the bed. It's great. This is, and then this is the thing he was talking about with it being called Babylon 5. He had his dream, and JMS had his dream and tried to make the show happen for a few years. There were 3 good starts to make the show, but they died out early on. Then a 4th attempt was made, and it looked promising. If I recall, a studio even greenlit it. But right before production, they were never sent the money they needed, and people stopped returning his calls. So this is why in the show it is explained that Babylon stations 1 through 3 were sabotaged in construction, and Babylon 4 was completed but mysteriously vanished, which is really cool. And the rest of the email is just basically he's going to be doing some like comments and like checking off boxes every time certain things happen. And these are like things that'll make more sense when we watch more of the show. But he's like, hey, these are things that you can notice. Like one of them is called Lies Minbari Told Me. And one of them is like Narns and their obsession with food. Or people having romantic moments in an elevator. Stuff like that. Like very common things on the show. So that's going to be very interesting. I don't know if we don't have the time to read all of those, but I'm going to be peeping those as we go along and
for sure
tracking that. So thank you to Dax and Dan as always. And thank you for enjoying that. Hopefully we will be right back to discuss Mind War. Mind War.
Babylon 5.
Welcome back to Chatzylon 5. The second episode we watched this week was Season 1, Episode 6, Mind War, which was written by J. Michael Straczynski, directed by Bruce Seth Green. It aired on March 2nd, 1994, and it is set between Sunday, April 24th, and Tuesday, April 26th of 2258. Alan, what happened in Mind War?
Well, Magellan, a rogue telepath with exceptional powers takes refuge on Babylon 5, and 2 Psycops arrive to capture him. Catherine Sakai heads to Sigma 957 to survey it for Quantum 40, ignoring Jakar's grave warnings. So what did you think of Mind War?
I was glad that we spent some time exploring the implications of telepathy on this setting, because I think that it can be easy to fall into the trap of like, oh, this is just one of the things we have. People can read minds, but to be able to actually go into detail about how people are selected for certain roles and like what the hierarchy of people with telepathy is and what implications it has for different day-to-day interactions. I think we needed to have that in order to continue to have a person who is a telepath on the show and be able to suspend our disbelief. So I appreciated that. In terms of the plot, I thought it was fine. I mean, again, we just talked about how a lot of these episodes are like, hey, this is my long lost lover who's back.
Again, to check.
Again. So that felt a little stale already. But I don't know. I thought it was suspenseful and it was different and it was kind of hokey, but in a sort of season 1 of a 90s sci-fi show kind of way. And then the Catherine stuff I just did not really follow. I guess she's going to make a lot of money going somewhere, but she shouldn't go there. And
yeah,
that was that.
Honestly, the only cool stuff I got out of the Catherine stuff was what I took as implications from what Jakar tells her at the very, very end of the episode.
Right.
Like that scene on one hand is yet another moralizing to the viewer thing, and then it's also a hint at something much bigger, which is really actually cool.
Yeah, I guess this universe has old gods in it or something.
Yeah, exactly. Which like,
Yeah.
fuck yeah. I love. Yeah, I want to say I love old gods, but I often don't like it when people are like, and the old gods are the explanation for everything. But like, I like Final Fantasy 12, so that's the kind of person that I am. The first line in the setup for all the Catherine stuff is that she's talking about how she's going to get money from this corporation to go search for this this ore, and then someone, I think Garibaldi or Sinclair more likely says, "You sure you want to get involved with a megacorp?" And like no one, that'll never go well. You can't like get involved with a megacorp and have it be like, "Hell, that worked. That's sick. Like everything went well for me."
Fine. Yeah.
No way. 0% chance. They are sending her to her death, basically, for that sweet, sweet profit. And speaking of like evil governments, I was so fascinated by the Psychops. I really want to talk about Walter Koenig's performance as one of the main Psychops. Walter Koenig, beloved actor, played what's his name? The Chekhov on original Star Trek. Plays it really serious, like so serious that it felt like bleak.
Yeah.
How incredibly deadly serious.
It's terrifying. Yeah.
Exactly. Him and the other woman that's with him are these like black clad, clearly like very fascist inspired, like psychic police. Like, we're here to capture the rogue psychic. And it's kind of predictable because you're like, oh, I bet you the rogue psychic is actually like a nice person who has like powers they can control. I've seen the X-Men, you guys. I know how this goes. And I mean, that was like the sort of point that I kept thinking of when watching this was, we're kind of just doing an X-Men thing where it's somebody who has powers they can't control and they want to, but if they give it to the government, then they're going to use it for evil. And if they use it for themselves, then they can't control it and they'll never learn to control it. It kind of, there's a scene where Jason Ironheart is the man's name. This cool sort of like charmingly affable guy who was, I guess, Talia's instructor when they were at Psycorp together, and also her lover, which she makes sure to tell everybody about, you know, the whole, do you know what it's like when telepaths make love, Captain?
I liked that part.
What did you like about it? I'm curious.
Because it's
like,
you know, that's a question that that's the kind of question that I have sometimes of, okay, this is in your world. What about when they have sex? What is that like? And I got my answer.
Yeah.
And it
It's
was
awesome.
poetic. It was beautiful.
Yeah, she's like, there's no difference between the two of you anymore. Like,
Yeah, your souls merged. That sounds freaking great.
I mean, that's like what people want, theoretically. Sex is not real, but it's what people would want out of sex. Is like, oh, you're like basically two celestial beings like colliding and becoming the same person. Like, that's awesome. And she's like, yeah, it's way easier when you're a telepath and you can just read. You're just constantly reading minds together. The thing I liked about this whole getting into the rules of telepaths is, like, there are different powers of telepaths that we learn. They have like the P rating. You know, Ivanova has the whole, like, she's having this explained to her by the Psychops, and they're like, you know, the average person at Psycorp ranges from P1 to P10. And like P1 is like a newbie, and like P5 is like pretty strong, and then like a P10 is like illegal, and they need to be taken care of. And we're P12.
Whoa!
Like, there has to be a name for that trope where like this is only a big deal because the show told me it's a big deal. It doesn't mean anything. Like, psychic rating is like,
there must be a whole TV
psychics.
tropes page for like bullshit power level or something.
Like, 100%. Yeah, it's just some DBZ thing where it's just like, this one's got bigger hair.
Right.
And then she has the whole, like, who watches the Watchmen line. You're like, yep,
Right,
that
which is just the line. Like, it's not even a play on that line. That's just
she says, who watches the Watchmen? Yeah. Which I think is a reference to the comic. JMS is a huge nerd. And also, the line in the comic is a reference to, like, an old, like, Latin phrase. So it's, you know, it's appropriate. It's not weird that she's making that reference, but it's just like,
it's just said in, like, there are a lot of lines in this show that are good lines that were clearly written by a writer.
Yeah.
And she's saying it like it's one of those lines when it's not. It's just an idiom.
Right, exactly. Like, oh yeah, that classic phrase, who watches the Watchmen? Excuse me, Ivanova? What was that? But yeah, then we do eventually meet Jason Ironheart, and this was actually the thing that I mentioned in the first half where I was like surprised that we're still running on Earth time, because we first see him as just like a dude on the ship, and we quickly suspect that he's the rogue telepath. We don't know if he's a good or bad guy yet. And he's like renting out a room, and he's like, how much? And the lady who's like giving him the room is like, oh, it's $500 or like 500 credits a week. And then she like says after that, she's like 500 credits a week based on Earth rotation time. And I was like, oh fuck yeah, time doesn't work when you're on a spaceship. Like the way you measure days you have to base it on something.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they probably have clocks all over Babylon 5, because you can't like how many, or I guess like however many rotations of our ship, but that's like configurable. You need like a celestial body to make time. I love that shit so much. So I really like that, and then I really liked this Jason guy talking to Talia and having these secret meetings of like, you know, oh, they're lying to you, and like the government is full of corrupt people, and like psychics telepaths control the Earth government, which like in this show that's fine because it's probably true. Yeah. But that's a really funny, like theoretically, like a conspiracy theorist line.
Yeah.
Because Sinclair says that, like Talia is like, hey, this guy like says that there's a bunch of fucked up stuff going on with telepaths, and then Sinclair says something like, yeah, of course he would say that. He's a rogue prisoner and a telepath who he can't control his powers. He would say like conspiracy theory shit,
right?
Except but he's right, so it's cool.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's not like a quote unquote crazy person.
I think the thing that I was missing in all of this was what exactly Talia's perspective on telepaths and on Psychor is supposed to be, because Jason's talking to her as if this is going to totally turn your world upside down. You thought that they were fine, but they're actually evil. Except in the audience, we're all like, yeah, of course. It's a bunch of like, jackbooted mind cops who are reading people's minds without their permission. That's terrifying. Nobody's going to think that's a good thing. So is Talia someone who loved the Psychor and thinks that it's doing all the right things? Or where does she stand on it? Because I just couldn't get a read on her perspective and whether her perspective was shifting over the course of the episode. And I feel like it was supposed to be about her. This should be an episode that is about her, but I can't articulate what, if anything, I learned about her in the process of this.
Well, so I think the problem is like the reason we don't get this as a Talia episode is like because she has this romantic attachment and sexual attachment to Jason, her like opinion is constantly influenced by like, but I like this guy. He's not a stranger who I am like basing my moral compass against. He's like, I already by default agree with what he's saying because I like him and because I know he's a good guy. Because like by default, what she should be saying is like, yeah, I read this as she does love Psycorp. Psycorp is the reason she can control her powers. And like she had that conversation with Ivanova early on where it's like, they are the only reason I can control my shit. And like I loved being there and I met good people and I made good use of my powers because of them. And that's how I got this job. But this guy who I associate with that time in my life is telling me like, no, everything about that was really messed up. And those people who we respected and sort of worshipped are terrible. And they're controlling the world right now. And we need to stop that. And he reveals all this stuff to her, but we don't get her opinion on any of it. Mm-hmm. He's telling her like they are basically doing a eugenics project. Basically like, people under P8 or whatever are not considered valuable. If you're above a certain thing, then they genetically modify you to keep you that way and keep you in check. And that's what they did to me. And they're doing that to everyone. And it's like, wow, that's huge news. That's like really like world changing shit you're telling me. And we don't really get Talia being like agreeing or disagreeing with him. She just kind of goes like, Sinclair, check out what that guy said. I love him. You gotta believe him. And it feels like we're not like actually getting that much of Talia's interiority as a result.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Like that mysteriousness of the Psycorp works to make Walter Koenig's character, Alfred Bester, by the way, is his name. He's gonna come back. He's very cool. Alfred Bester and Kelsey is the lady's name. It makes them really scary because you're like, oh, because if they're P12, then they can like break your mind in like 2 seconds. Jason has that scene where he talks about like because he talks about the difference between, and I really want to get into this, but the difference between a telepath and a telekinetic.
Mm-hmm.
And he says like a telekinetic is like the future of assassination. Like you look at a government official and you squeeze your fingers together and their carotid arteries closed and then they're dead. And there's no crime scene. There's no fingerprints. You let go of your fingers and you're not implicated. Bada bing. And like they're like pushing to have more people be able to do that.
Yeah,
and like different factions
really
want their
cool
telepaths.
And scary.
It's terrifying. And it's kind of an easy sci-fi metaphor for like an arms race of like we discovered a new weapon. You see this sort of thing in Gundam where it's like we found a kid who has psychic powers and they can pilot the robot real good. And we found a person who can do this thing without having a console. Like it's just the evolution of weaponry, but making it people, people who went to school and existed on Earth, adds a lot of like tension and anxiety around like what's going to happen if telekinetics can be controlled and not have all these problems.
Yeah.
Like I think Jason Ironheart's performance, like the actor who plays him is like doing his best, but playing a guy, like a person with uncontrolled power is really hard to make seem realistic. It's just like, you can't believe all the shit that's going on in my brain. I can like hear everything at once and like I can't stop moving things with my brain. I feel, and then he even said some shit like I am becoming, and she's like, becoming what? And he says nothing. I am becoming. And we see what that means.
It'll make sense later.
It'll make sense in the last scene of the episode.
Yeah, and
it'll
then
be sick as hell.
It doesn't. It does not make sense.
She's like, Jason, why are you like a fucking 3D like 3D Windows screensaver? And he's like, dude, I became.
Wasn't that clear before that this is what I was talking about?
Was it not obvious that I became? So weird. I really wanted, because the difference between telepaths and telekinetics is like telepaths, you have to get into like consent and the power to manipulate people's brains and being able to read someone's mind and like, is there a pro and con to that? And this society clearly accepts them enough that they let them come to like ambassadorial meetings.
Yeah,
I
like this idea of there being regulations on what telepaths can do or not do, and people just sort of have to trust that telepaths are abiding by the rules. Like when Talia is in the negotiation with Catherine, and she says Catherine's telling the truth. What's to stop her from lying?
Right. And what's to stop Catherine from like tricking her or doing all these different things? Like, it's funny because then there's that, like there's all these regulations on telepaths, but they have no plans for telekinetics. That's like a whole different ballpark of like, oh shit, you can move things, you can make things happen with your brain. That's fucked. That's like, we need to lock you up and put you in like stasis with drugs forever. That's their sort of like line that they don't cross. So it kind of goes along like that. Like he's explaining all this stuff to her, and then he locks down like a whole wing of the bar and like the area surrounding the bar, and Talia has to like go inside and be like, "But Jason, I love you," and he's like, "I know, but like, what do I do?" And then Sinclair gets to have the like Captain Picard moment of like, I decide what other people do with their lives because it's my damn ship, which is fine. He deserves that agency there. He earns it. And he kind of says like, I'm not going to give you back to them because I'm sure I'm like, if what you're saying is wrong, then, that's still unfair of me. But if what you're saying is right, then it's really bad. And I need to
really
like,
fucked up.
It's super fucked up. And we need to have like a long conversation about it. But for the short term, we're going to let you go. We're going to sneak you out and you can go live your life. He's like, wow, thanks. That's awesome. What a morally positive captain you are. And then Jason Ironheart goes outside and the episode is over and you're like, wow, that's awesome. Like he got out, he did like the cool mind quake, and then like the cops are bad, and then he has the worst fight scene of all time.
It's really bad. Just that shot of when they're trying to like hack into his brain or something, and there's this Dutch angle that's shaking of two people standing and staring. And it's like, buddy, this is not engaging visually.
And the effects that they're putting on top of it, like the weird lightning that like just the colors are all off, and like you're just like making telepathy battles look cool is hard. I understand that.
Yeah.
The reason Legion, the X-Men show, gets the way that they get around that is that they just go into their heads and then they have like fights in their heads that take place in different places.
That's
or like Psychonauts does. It is very stupid. Psychonauts, the video game, kind of does a similar thing where it's like, no, your fight happens internally in like a space inside of your brain, not in real life. Because when you look at it in real life, yeah, it's just like dudes facing each other being like...
and then one guy being like...
And then they also have guns. It's like I'm gonna break you with telepathy, but also I have a gun. I have like a whole ass pistol, my guy.
Yeah, I like that Sinclair's like, this fight's getting boring. I'm gonna punch.
I'm here to do punching. Talia, look out! A whole ceiling is gonna fall on you. It's so goofy.
The characters really didn't reckon with the fact that Jason just dissolves that lady.
Yo, he fucking he eliminated her from existence.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Kelsey, yeah.
Yeah, and nobody really comments on it.
Because they're like, all right, Bester has to come back because, like, we got a good actor for this. But, like, that lady, I don't know. Look how strong he is. He can kill people. But the show, like you said, doesn't like, it doesn't do anything with it. You got guys. You can't just... Okay.
Yeah.
It's super weird. And then... Yeah, they shoot him with the thing. Seems like they're gonna get away with him, and then how does he take them out at the end? How do they defeat Bester? Or no, they like get away.
He sends like a telekinetic shockwave at him or something.
Right, just long enough to knock him out, and then they get away. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Bester's like, "Hey, you realize I'm gonna like come back for like a really long ass time, right?" And they're like, "Dude, bring it. Jason's out of here." And he's like, "No, damn you, Babylon 5." And he bounces, and Jason is like, "Talia, I love you. Smoochy smooch. Also, I'm going to leave you with one last gift." She's like, "Wow, thanks. I love it." And then we're left to wonder what that is. And he goes out. And then the final scene of the episode is, "Hey, guys, whatever happened to Jason?" What? This is the moment. Yeah, this is the podcast thumbnail. Our man, Jason Ironheart, has finally become a Windows screensaver. He's a 3D model of a human. He doesn't even look like Jason. It's just like a literal like picture of man, like man.jpg in the cosmos. He's like, "Thanks, guys. I finally got some cool shit. Shout outs to your homegirl Talia. Peace. Hit me up onto Instagram." And he's gone. And Talia, they're like, "I wonder what her power was. Who's there? I guess we're never gonna know." And we get this shot of her in her room. And there's a penny, and she moves the fucking penny because Talia's a telekinetic now. It's very cool. I'm very excited for her to be a telekinetic.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where that goes.
Yeah, give her.
It's another sign or portent.
Exact sign and or portent. Yes. We do also need to talk briefly about the Jakar Catherine stuff. So this planet Sigma 957 is like we kind of talked about it, but it's like it's a mystery planet, and it's got ore on it, and the ore makes teleportation. And Shakar's like, "Hey, don't go there. I don't recommend it." And she's like, "Why?" And he's like, "Don't worry about it. Just fucking trust me, lady." And she's like, "I don't." And then she goes because she wants to make money. I understand that. And then she goes, and she's like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna burn. It's like 400 degrees in here. Time to get sexy." And she like starts taking off clothes. And before that, Jakar is like, "Hey, Narn Homeworld, can you like send like a bunch of boats to her and like save her? Because she's probably gonna die." And they're like, "Yeah, fam, I got you." And then they do. And then they save her. That's it. That's the plot. And she comes back and she's like, "But Jakar, like, what's on that planet? What's going on there?" And he's like, I think I wanted to get the exact line, but I didn't write it down. He was something like, "I am both terrified and reassured to know that there are things that we still don't know." Is basically what he's saying. Like, there's stuff out there on that planet in the universe. They are a mystery, and I am both terrified and reassured to know there are still wonders in the universe that we have not yet explained everything. Whatever they are, Miss Sakai, they walk near Sigma 957. They must walk there alone. It's like, what? What is that? Because you can totally read that, like I said earlier, as either like, space is infinite. There are aliens everywhere. Or there's a specific thing.
There's like, huge giant space gods is what it is, right? That's got to be what it is.
That's what I think it is. Like, oh, give me some old god shit.
Yeah. You get me. Yeah, that's what I want.
Firmly in the range of like things I shouldn't Google. Is everything he talks about there. Yeah, I'm really into. I'm into Jakar being like kind of wise. This is the Jakar that I kind of like. This is the dude who I'm like, yeah, he's smarter than everyone else. He knows some shit, and we're gonna see what that is in a future episode, I think. So that is what we have. Do you have any stray notes on Mind War, by the way?
Oh yeah.
Oh, bring it to me, big boy.
Let's see. I liked the very beginning. Again, Garibaldi is best in like the first scene of an episode.
Yeah, that's true. He gets his like comedy moment before the show starts.
Mm-hmm. And he is like asking Talia how her power works. And she's talking about how like surface thoughts, whatever. It's like hearing people in the hotel room next door. And then she's like, and some thoughts are really like if someone's really focusing on it, it's more clear. And then she like hits him in the stomach because he's thinking about, I guess, having sex with her.
He does the grossest shit where he like looks over her chest like, those are boobs.
Yeah,
wow.
And then she hits him, and it's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And then he says a gross line like, "Oh, I think I'm in love," which is like, what is this, a Looney Tunes episode? Chill
so,
out.
like he's gonna like grow like a cartoon wart thing on top of his head, like,
yeah.
And then like a big heart thumping. Yeah.
Jakar makes really certain to stress to Catherine that no one here is exactly what he appears.
Yeah.
So it's like, theme alert.
Ding, ding, ding. Thanks for that, show. I appreciate those moments, though.
Ivanova says to one of the Psychops, "Lady, you are the situation," which is a great Ivanova line.
Good Jersey Shore reference, yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Little, like, ahead of time. Signs and portents.
At the end, Jason says, "Goodbye, Commander. I will see you again in a million years."
Yeah, why weirdly specifically a million years?
It just sounds stupid.
It's the end of Red Hot American Summer. He's like, we'll say a million years, but we really mean like 1,000 years.
Yeah, we really mean like 430. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, lots of episodes have like old flames coming back, and also a lot of them have ended with a scene where the main characters like get a new side character by like fucking over their life and being like, all right, see ya. Like the assassin who failed, and Jakar's like, well, they're gonna come kill you now, so sorry, bud, better get out of here. And then in this one, Garibaldi and Sinclair are like, well, you're gonna have to lie to your bosses or we'll tell them that you fucked up.
Everyone on Babylon 5 is just like some big like mafia toughs that are like, if you're getting out of here, someone's gonna break your legs. Like every time. Yeah, it's a weird thing. The two that I had very, very brief ones. One was when Sinclair is talking to Talia about Jason's whole situation, and she's trying to have a private conversation. They get on this like tram that's like a private tram that only they can talk to each other on.
That's cool. I like that.
It's sick. The external CGI shot looks like hot garbage.
But
it's cool. It's
like the Bionicle video game.
Oh god, it totally. The one that's like a shooter, the one that I played at your house once.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a classic. The one I had was the one where you like did like snowboarding as the ice guy, and it was very good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I like trams. Some of my favorite things about playing Dead Space back in the day was you went between levels by taking trains everywhere, which is like my life, so it makes sense. And then, hey guys, we're really not equipped to talk about this, but it's worth bringing up. There is something iffy about making your dangerous, unhinged killer a black man. We're just gonna put that out there and let's see. You know that I did notice that, and I was like, I do see what you're saying. But I see what you're doing, Babylon 5. I don't know what you're saying, but I know what you're doing. So, Jason. Anyways,
God, I have to think about that.
Exactly.
I wouldn't call him unhinged. I think that's.
No, it's that's the thing is people think like the Cyclops. The Cyclops think he's they're like he's uncontrolled. He's gonna kill everyone, and he's just a dude. It's like a police brutality thing. Of like people worry that he's gonna kill everyone, but he's not gonna. He didn't plan to kill anybody.
Yeah, I gotta think more about that because I feel like anything I say right now will be a kind of like lazy read.
Right. This is just a thing I wanted to like.
No, throw it out in space and see what people say about it. Yeah,
I'd love to hear what people think. Magellan, enough about that. What are we watching next week on Chatzylon 5?
Well, Alan, next week we are watching 2 more episodes of Season 1 of Babylon 5. The first is Season 1, Episode 7, The War Prayer. Susan meets her old lover. Jesus.
Oh, God. Fuck. Stop doing it.
Okay. Susan meets her old lover, who is now part of a pro-Earth terrorist group that plans to kill an alien ambassador on Babylon 5. Okay, so again, we got old lovers, we got ambassador
assassination plot. All right.
Then, Season 1, Episode 8, And the Sky Full of Stars. Great title.
Mm-hmm.
Sinclair is kidnapped. Ooh. By people who want to know what happened when he disappeared in the last battle of the Earth-Minbari War. Knowledge that even Sinclair does not know.
Okay. So we're going to get like in every other episode is a lore episode thing now, I guess?
Yeah, that works for me.
I'll allow it. I'll allow it. Cool. Magellan, I have a question for you.
What's that?
Are you ready for the plug zone?
Yes, sir.
You can email us if you have questions, comments, or feedback by sending those to chatspod@gmail.com. That's chatzpod@gmail.com. You can also tweet at us at chatspod, spelled the same way. And if you'd like to support us financially, please do so by heading to patreon.com/chatspod. Over there at $2 a month, you get a podcast called Commentary Chats, where you can watch movies with us in your ear. For the month of October, we're going to be watching Labyrinth, which is going to record very soon. So stay tuned. At $5, you get Chats Nights, a bonus every other week show where we hang out and we publish it late at night. So it's like a sexy episode. Yeah. And I put like spicy royalty-free jazz at the beginning. So peep that. Magellan, where,
yes.
Well, here's the thing. Do you want to continue to plug your stuff, or do you want to go straight into Chatsums?
I don't really want to. I never use Twitter, and if that podcast comes back, I'll keep plugging it. But
fuck yeah! All right, then give me a Chatsum.
You know, man, I don't know if you use this for the cold open at all, but I think everyone should go watch the music video to "Teenage Dirtbag" by Wheatus, because I had a student tell me that it was the song that exemplified his life, and I couldn't tell if he was joking or not, and it made me laugh really hard.
Yeah, if you want like a perfect picture of the early 2000s, and also one of the funniest things I've ever heard. Teenage Dirtbag by Wheatus. Good shit.
What about you, dude?
Oh boy, you put me on the spot. I keep forgetting to come up with these beforehand. You should at home make a puzzle. Like get a puzzle. Get like a 200 piecer, like a nice easy one of something you like. People don't make puzzles anymore because it's not on your phone. It's not a video game. But like it's something you can do with people. It's something very low energy. It can be a little bit therapeutic if you do it the right way and you don't worry too much about it. It's something you can feel productive about when you finish. It's like a really nice hobby. And you can get, I got a 200-piece puzzle from the GameStop for $2. So like, I always, when I do I want to like have my Chatsums be things that people can go out there and do that will enrich their lives and hopefully not drain their wallet too much. Because, I talk about, we don't want to be like, my recommendation is to go buy a car or like go,
Right.
You should take an improv class if you can, but I understand that that's extremely expensive. Mm-hmm. So like, go out there and do your thing. But yeah, build a puzzle. Build one of something you think is cool. Heck or just like, make one that's like a cute dog and then you can hang it up. You get the benefit of making something. You get to work with your hands and you get a finished product that you can hang up usually. So
you know what I got for you?
Yeah,
another one.
Yeah.
I love buying the New York Times crossword puzzle a day calendar.
Oh yeah.
And what I used to do is I would rip it off the one for the day, and I would just kind of carry it around with me over the course of the day, and it's a conversation starter with people.
You're like
everybody
that.
likes to do a little puzzle, a little crossword puzzle.
Right. I forget what I might be thinking of, like from a video game or something, but there was something where someone was like walking around and they're like 9 across, a chicken that stands on 2 legs, and then that person is like dumbfounded by that, but then they get to think about it, and like you said, it's like a little conversation starter. So yeah, get you that. Thank you so very much for listening to this episode of Chatzylon 5. Peace.